You shall.
Thank
If,
you.
if everyone will please mute yourselves so we don't have background noise. And if you want to speak, you can do the raise hand feature.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for taking time to be with us this morning. We appreciate it. The district governor team meets every Friday at this time, and it's nice to be able to share that meeting with you all. I don't think Cherie is able to join us today. She had a business thing she needed to deal with in her business, and Barb Redder is not going to be able to join us because she's got work also that is going to keep her from being part of this. But Levier Nelson is here, Steve Sainert is here, and Chuck Rutenberg, our vice governor for next year, is here. So they can all be, they're part of that team now also. I do want to start talking about pets just to let everybody know we are in the midst of the pets registration process. Kelly, how is it going from what you're seeing as the registrar?
It's going pretty well. I sent out a notice yesterday of those of record that are not registered to get registered. And it's actually going very, very well. And clubs, you're going to have no charge and you're not going to have to leave your living room to get pets training this year. So I would love to see 100% participation this year.
Great.
Starts the 21st and registration closes the 28th.
Carolyn was just telling me that late fee starts the 21st and registration closes the 28th. Pets is the 19th and 20th of March, but what will be different this year, and this is being communicated, but just make sure your PEs and PENs know this, is that the district specific training is happening away from the pets weekend. So there's a whole nother schedule of training that's going to be coming that Cherie and her team will be providing to the clubs. It's just easier than trying to make you sit through 8 hours a day of virtual Zoom training at pets. That's impossible. So we are in the midst right now. All of us that are facilitators are working with lead trainer Phil Murphy from Fort Collins to train on how best to provide this virtual pets experience. Those of us that are facilitators will be part of the 4 breakout sessions that will be with all of the PEs, PENs, and assistant governors. And this year, everyone is together. So when you're in a breakout room, we could have president-elects, president-elect nominees, and AGs all in the same training, rather than having them all on separate tracks. So that's going to be a little bit different this year. There will be plenary sessions, and we've got a big platform provider called Maristone that's going to be actually handling all the groups together, breaking us out and doing all the technology behind the scenes stuff. So this is going to be a different experience. We're excited about doing it. We think that this is going to provide some real quality time together. But what we are going to do is have to work at it and really be intentional about reaching out to one another, being part of this training and giving it your best, because it is a little different when you've got a bunch of squares sitting on your screen to be able to really be able to build that community that we normally do with pets, but we're going to do the best we can. Kelly, Ken Small asked the question about when the post-pets training is. Do you have those dates in front of you?
The first one is actually previous to pets. It is the 8th of March. And I will send that out again, and I will include the PDGs on that list because we have a pre-pets training and then we have several, like 3 after pets. So I will send that out again to everybody because I think we've gathered some PEN names that we didn't have previously from what I looked at registration yesterday. So I will redistribute that.
Right. And as Kelly mentioned, and just make sure you all understand this, pets is completely no cost to the clubs this year. We have enough money in the district funds because of the nature of how our expenses have gone this last couple of years with pandemic, that we don't need to charge for pets. So the district is covering all of the fees for all the participants in District 5440. So there's absolutely no reason that your PEs, PENs, and if you're an AG, that can be a part of that. And as Kelly said, you don't have to leave your living room and make the drive and all the rest of it. There are downsides to that, but we are really working hard to try to make this a quality experience and something that will benefit the PEs. Yes.
I was just going to ask, Carolyn might have better knowledge to this than me with her having created the fee schedule. Tim's message there on the group chat. Are others non-PEs, PENs and AGs allowed to attend? The answer was yes, but I'm not sure that it was grouped out as a payment, like if it's just a Rotarian interested in how the training operates. Maybe Carolyn could enlighten us on the fee schedule that's set up for others.
Is there a fee schedule for others, Carolyn?
Well, it's all different districts. I'm trying to remember what you guys decided.
Okay, Carolyn's gonna try, we've got 6 districts and pets and they've all made their own choices about that.
I'll look it up.
She's gonna look it up and I'll get back to you. My inclination is that if we can pay for 5440 Rotarians to come to pets, I think we should as a district. I think that's what we did. Lee, do you remember that that was our conversation, or Chuck? Lee's shaking her head.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
that's my recollection, Chris, but it'd probably be good for us to
We'll
get
verify that,
confirmation.
but my feeling is, just
Yeah.
from the discussion with the DG team, is that we have dollars that we want to reinvest in 5440, and this is a way that the district can do it and hopefully encourage interest in leadership in Rotary and the information that we're sharing at pets, and maybe get some Rotarians in our clubs turned on to the larger life of Rotary. So this, we don't want fees to be a barrier this year. And so my thinking is that we're not charging anybody in 5440 to come to pets.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
You bet. Any questions about pets that you have for this year? This is, like I said, a new experience for us. We are all, as facilitators, working
Chuck-
hard. Yes,
Chuck's
Chuck.
got his hand up.
Hi, Chuck.
Morning. Hey, just to clarify on dates, because I have Cherie's tentative schedule up here. March 8th is really the assistant governor training. The pre-pets PE introduction is the 15th.
Thank you, Chuck. I didn't have that written down that specifically on my calendar here.
Yeah, I just pulled up her schedule to look at it.
Okay,
And then the post pet sessions begin on March 29th, and they're every Monday morning for the next 3 weeks. So it's the 29th of March, 5th of April, and 12th of April at 7 o'clock for a post pets session.
they're evenings though. I don't believe
Yeah.
they're 7 a.m. I think they're 7 p.m.
7
Yeah.
p.m.
Oh, okay. I had them marked as 7 a.m. Thanks for that. Let me,
Mhm.
You'd be in that meeting by yourself, Steve,
Yeah.
wondering where everybody was. And why'd I get up so early?
I thought the Rotarians were pretty eager people, but 7 a.m. is early. Okay.
And again, I will redistribute that information to everybody.
Thank you, Kelly. Any other questions about pets?
Confirm the registration for interested Rotarians.
Oh, yes, Carolyn just looked it up. All interested Rotarians, the registration is 0. So we're paying for that also. So if you've got some folks in your clubs that are interested, please get them registered as interested Rotarians. All right, there has been something that has come down from the RI board. We have a letter ready to go out. Until July 1st, the Rotary International Board is not reimbursing anyone for any travel. That includes district governors, assistant governors, all officers of Rotary except for the president and vice president and the president of the foundation. They are absolutely discouraging people from traveling for Rotary. And so there will be no in-person Rotary International meetings until the 1st of July. And of course, that includes the convention in Taipei, which has been moved to virtual. In case you didn't see that, that just decision was made. So that'll be our second virtual conference. I think information has gone out around what the registration is going to be for the virtual convention. But they've had a couple of situations, as I understand it from some of my governor meetings, where they've had Rotary officials have traveled and have come down with COVID, and one of them even died. And so they're taking a very hard line to this. As a district, we have made the decision that we are honoring that no travel policy, no gathering policy. So as a district, there will be no spring assembly in person that we have normally had in Cheyenne. And we're talking about what that assembly may or may not look like given the timing of pets. We've also had to make the decision that there will be no in-person district conference again this year. We were hoping to be able to do it in May in Greeley, but given the virus and everything else that's going on and the vaccine rollouts, we will be planning for a virtual district conference. I'm still targeting the 21st and 22nd of May, but I'm going to have to verify that to make sure that that's still going to work. So I wanted you to be aware of that. It's unfortunate, but it's kind of where we are. And we have such a variety of experiences around our district in 4 states. The communities are experiencing the virus very differently, but Rotary is taking a strong position that our Rotarian members need to be safe. In addition to that, Rotary wants us all to be very mindful and diligent about if we gather, and they're really discouraging in-person gatherings, although the district is not doing that. What we're encouraging you to do is follow all the directives of your local health departments or state health departments with regard to gathering, and making sure you are maintaining appropriate practices. If masking is best practice, if social distancing, if there's supposed to be proper ventilation where you meet, all those things you need to be concerned about if your clubs are coming back together. We are encouraging you to always maintain a virtual option for your members of your club or other interested people that can't come to your meetings in person, so that they don't feel barred from that. But we want to reiterate again that we are still in the midst of the pandemic, and we are encouraging you as club leaders to follow proper diligence and stay abreast of what the situation is in your local communities, and follow the directions and guidelines of your local health departments and local government and state governments. Because again, we are in 4 states, 53 clubs scattered in all kinds of communities, places where there is lots of virus, places where there's almost no virus. And so a one size fits all is difficult, but we're just encouraging you to be vigilant and to maintain the posture that we've been in for the last year until we get past this. Any questions or reactions? It's frustrating, I know. It's frustrating for everybody.
See no hands. And Ken Small does put in the chat there to everyone. Everybody can read what he has put in there.
Yep. Okay, great. Ken, thank you. Other thoughts about that? We're not trying to lay down the hammer, although I will tell you in the conversations that I was listening to Jarita Solari, our director, talking about the discussion on the board there, the board is actively discouraging in-person meetings around the Rotary world. But we recognize that there are certain circumstances that are different in different communities, but we just really want you to be diligent and careful about how you're doing this. We don't want to hear about an outbreak happening in a Rotary club. Chuck, did you want to add anything to that, or Lee or Steve from our conversations? Kelly, you've got that letter that we did. If you're ready to distribute that, we're ready to have it go.
Okay, I will send it out this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Chris Kazian from Windsor saying it's tough to keep clubs engaged. There is such a divisive topic. I understand. Believe me, I understand. My club is about 104 people, and we get regularly, a good day is 35 logins. And that might be 37, 38, 40 people at the most. It's difficult. It is difficult. And I'm fearful that we're going to be in some form of this for a while yet, again, depending upon your community. But Rotary clubs have been very resilient in terms of how they have figured out how to meet. It is also, they have been very creative and just brilliant in how they have flipped fundraisers around and have done things in ways they've never thought of. So we will come out of this pandemic stronger. We will come out of the pandemic with good ideas to carry forward. It's a time now, and you know, coming up on the first anniversary of this damn thing. It's where we really need to come back to the 4-way test and really apply that to our life as a club. And again, doing things intentionally. And it is harder to communicate. It's harder to build fellowship. It's harder to build engagement when you can't be together. None of us like this. And none of us would have picked this for your year as a Rotary president. None of us would have picked this as anything to do with trying to lead clubs. It's hard enough without having this kind of impediment on it. But we are getting through it, and people are doing good work, and good things are happening in the world through Rotary, even with the pandemic going on. So had a great program yesterday in my club from some folks that were involved in fighting the big fires down here in Colorado. We had a firefighter from as a member of our satellite club, who is a Greeley firefighter and was deployed up to the Cameron Peak fire west of Fort Collins. And then we had, there was the director of the Community Foundation of Northern Colorado, whose home was destroyed in the Cameron Peak fire. There was a before and after picture. His house burned to the ground. And then we had a lady who was part of a relief agency that is working for recovery for the survivors of the fire. And those recoveries are going to go on for quite a while. But amazing to see communities come around and help one another and really make a difference in that. And be reminded of what we went through last fall, but that we've gotten through it and that communities have been strong. And I particularly am proud of the folks up in Estes Park who had to evacuate the whole town, didn't you, Jim? I remember when those calls came down and there were people streaming out of Estes Park in September trying to get away from the fires, and the fires were right there, and they weren't sure that they weren't going to blow up. But Rotarians took care of each other, and we as a district helped support one of the firefighters that had to have some rent assistance because they were out of their home. They were fighting fires, and so the district was able to have some funds to help with that. But Rotarians come around each other and they help, and that's a good thing. So all that stuff has been happening, and I know you all have been working hard through the pandemic. You all have been doing things in your communities in terms of food distribution, helping food banks, working with all of the agencies that you're working with, doing fun things for your clubs. I'm looking at Tim Cochran. That you had your scavenger hunt at Christmas time, which looked like it was a blast. And you've got your reverse raffle coming up, which I'm in. And Lee Barry Nelson, I want that $10,000. She and I are in a competition over who's going to win the most in all of the events we get into this year.
Chris, you beat me last year. Come on, you can't.
Oh, that's okay. Then I give more money to give back to the foundation. How's that? That $10,000 would be $30,000 to end polio now. That wouldn't be a bad deal, would it?
That would be great.
Okay to use it.
That would be great.
Okay way to use it. The other letter that just went out, I believe, and I wanted to spend a little time and give some folks here on the call some time to talk about it, is the initiative to investigate establishing a passport club for our district. That's a new way of us opening up channels into Rotary that may not be there for certain Rotarians. And Chuck Rutenberg is here, Lee Barry Nelson's here, Steve Sainert is here. Cherie is not with us, but she's been a part of that. I'd like you guys to kind of talk a little bit about what your thought is and how that's going to enhance the life of the district and not detract from it.
Chris, I'll start out and then I'll let Chuck follow on. He is the club advocate for the Passport Club, and I'm very grateful for his insight into this process. It was actually Chuck who introduced me to the Passport Club concept several years ago. So we are in the process of communicating to all of the clubs in the district. Most of you, I hope, have read the email that came out from Kelly talking about the Passport Club. What this club does is it helps us look at Rotarians that may have been interested or part of clubs in the past, and for some reason had to exit their club, whether it was for a relocation or job change, or maybe just a loss of interest in Rotary, something where the club did not fit for them. So those are the types, I don't want to say type, those are the people that we are looking for, folks that had a passion for Rotary, or even right now, people that have a passion for Rotary, but they cannot attend a club meeting based on what's going on either in their job or something with their personal life. So this Passport Club offers an alternative, and I would repeat what Chris says, and I would adamantly repeat that. We are not trying to pull members from clubs. What we are trying to do is look at people who have a passion for Rotary and do not belong to a club right now and are looking for a different opportunity outside of a regular club meeting. Members of the Passport Club do not even have to be in District 5440. This is not a district-bound club. I'm talking to some young college students right now from Colorado College in Colorado Springs, and they are very interested in getting involved in this Passport Club. The club focuses on projects, community service projects, international service projects. There's some really good opportunities in this club to understand about grant writing and have a being able to build that skill. Chuck, anything else you want to add?
One thing is that before we go too far, I want to just say the other area we're looking at is for alumni. People that have been to Riley years ago that are living in the area and not part of a Rotary Club, exchange students that are not part of Rotary Club, or Peace Scholars that want to get connected to Rotary and they find it difficult. Beyond that, I'd like to listen to what you guys think about this club we're starting, and then I can address any issues you may have. Any thoughts? Tim?
Cochran.
I just have a question. I mean, I got the email and I think it's a really interesting idea. I feel like I would have joined this club, 20 years ago, given my life then, but I just have some questions about the structure. And so you're saying it would be based in 5440, but obviously anybody could join it from anywhere, correct?
Right. And Tim, this concept came about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, when Rotary started talking about how can we make it easier for people to join Rotary who aren't joining. And when Lee talked about community service projects, this club is not going to have community service projects. We're going to encourage them to get involved with Rotary clubs in their own location to work on your community service projects. And our thought is, and I've seen this happen around the country and around Canada, where once people start to do that, they start to make a connection with your club members. And over time, people start leaving Passport and joining your clubs, which I think is great. We're just trying to get them into Rotary and get them involved.
Right. So it's like a transitional, or it's like introduction and then transition into local clubs. That's great. I think it's a cool idea.
If they want to transition. Now, there's a lot of people that do a lot of traveling and stuff that will never be able to join, but the thought is to get them in and get them passionate about Rotary and what we're doing.
Right. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and I think the one example I can give to you all, or at least some of you who had the opportunity to listen to Britt Woodrum speak about the 14er project. I've been in touch with her and have asked her to look at the information about the Passport Club to see if she would like to join. She is very interested and very passionate about Rotary, and could almost technically be a Rotary alum, not quite, but she travels so much that she's not able to be a member of a specific club. But this Passport Club, she can be a member of, and she can focus her passion about Rotary into the Passport Club. So, it's, as Chuck mentioned, it's folks like that are either an alum or want to be involved in Rotary, but they do a lot of traveling or, something like that, and they cannot attend a regular club meeting. So I think, and Chuck, I hadn't even told you about Brittany yet, but I'm really hopeful that she'll be interested in joining the club.
Actually, you're starting to lose it. You did tell me about it. Scott, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea, particularly in the beginning, targeting those that have some sort of Rotary experience. particularly in areas that have more than one club, like we have 3 clubs in Jackson and then one in over the hill in Teton Valley. We have a lot of commuters that live in Teton Valley that we had a couple of our members of the supper club here leave our club because they moved across the hill over to Idaho and just didn't find time to join the Teton Valley Club. And I think it's an excellent idea. In this time, it's like a lot of other organizations. We need to go out and meet people's needs rather than say, have strict guidelines about how, what does it mean to be a Rotarian? You have to show up at lunch every week and you have to do this and have to do that. So I'm all in favor of it. And I think it's a wonderful idea. Thanks for starting to work on it.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Anybody else?
Janet had her hand up from Estes Park.
I
Janet,
do. So will you have like a regular check-in on Zoom, like once a month? And is there a fee structure associated with membership?
there is a fee structure and they will have some virtual meetings. I don't know what they're planning right now. I don't know how many of you know Robin Steele, who's in the Rotary Club of Fort Collins. She's going to leave and join Passport and become the president. Julie Johnson Hafner down in Loveland is going to be the vice president of the club. So they're working on the mechanics of how often they're going to meet, but it'll be by Zoom.
Who's the president going to be? I'm sorry, I missed that, Chuck.
Robin Steele.
Right on, cool. I wish she would be more proactive and supportive of Rotary. That's my big issue with her. Joking.
Yeah, I see the laughing. Janet, they will have to pay Rotary International dues and district dues. Whether there are any additional club dues over and above that remains to be seen, that they'll decide.
Chris, we've been working on that. It looks like the fees are going to be $70 a quarter.
Okay.
So there are additional fees because we have to get Club Runner and all that other stuff to
Right.
support it.
But I just want everybody to understand that those Passport Rotarians will be paying the same fees each of our club Rotarians pay to Rotary International and to the district. So that they'll be in that sense paying all the required official fees to Rotary at the district or above. What their club decides to do, and that's how your fees are all set up in your individual clubs. Anything over and above the district and the international dues is a club matter, and you figure out how you want that to work for your club, depending on what your club culture is, what you do, and how you do it. So they'll be in that same boat as everybody else.
And they'll also be encouraged to support the foundation,
Yeah.
the Rotary Foundation as well.
Is that going to be one of their tenets, Chuck? Is that everyone will be a sustaining member of the Rotary Foundation?
Yes, sir.
Great.
As your foundation chair, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Other
Hey,
questions?
Chuck, this is John Hanson from Torrington. I just had a question about like meeting makeups. Would we be able to have like our Rotarians makeup in the virtual club? And would there be a fee associated with that?
They'll be able to make up and there won't be any fee because they'll just be joining a virtual meeting. I would suspect that some of these people, we're going to encourage them to come to some of your Rotary Club meetings and get to know you too.
Mhm.
So what it's going to be, and this is how it's different than an e-club, is we're asking them to commit to getting so many points a year, like 50 points a year, and they get so many points for doing different things. One is coming to one of your Rotary meetings. One is to go to district events. One is to get involved in your community service projects, and they're ranked differently, and it's higher for a community service project because that's what we want them to do, is get involved in service.
That makes sense. And the meetings will be scheduled, I guess, on a certain date and time per month. And how many times per month will you have programs?
I don't even know if it's going to be every month at this point. I'm leaving it up to Robin and Julie to figure out what they want to do to start out.
I just, speaking from our club, who obviously we've been, as everyone has, working on hybrid meetings and fully Zoom meetings, it just seemed like to me that if they could create a month-long structure, just as I think Chris has done, and getting people together on Zoom, it could be a great, I think, a powerful ability for people just to join. Here's another avenue of service and Rotary, and really do a great job of Zoom. And although I know that's not probably the initial function or intention of the club, I think it could backfill a lot of these smaller clubs that don't have, all the way in on Zoom. So those are just my comments. I support it 110%. I think it's a brilliant idea.
John, I couldn't agree more with you. And my intention is to at least once a quarter to have a Zoom social with them. So people can just get together and talk and get to know each other.
Robin Sims has a question. Does RI still have a requirement for all clubs to meet in some fashion, service, virtual, in-person check-in twice a month?
I don't know if that's, I don't know if it's a requirement or not, Robin, at this point.
I think
But
it's not a requirement. I think in all the conversations that we've been having over the last 3 weeks with the focus groups, nobody wants to track attendance, and everybody is saying you figure it out as a club, however you want to meet, whatever works for you. There's not the requirement coming down from the top. It's what works for you as a club.
Mhm.
And as district governor, I'm going to tell you that if you don't meet twice a month, I'm not spanking your hand for that. That's up to you.
Yep.
That's your decision.
Yeah.
yes, Robin.
The reason that I asked was that I think that that's still part of the RI standard constitution for clubs.
I have not found that yet in there, Robin. And if you could send that to me, I would appreciate it, because I have looked and I can't find it anywhere.
But I'll tell you what, I will pose a question to John Yuko. I will email John and ask him that very question.
That's a good idea, Chuck.
Yeah, I'll
Janet
look
makes
it
a
up. It's
comment
still
that the
in there.
meeting requirements are defined by our club bylaws. And I will tell you that the way in our conversations as a governor team, which is the next 3 and 4 years of leadership in this district, is we are going to defer to the club in terms of how you organize your meetings, what you do, what you choose to do. Our job is to help you do it better, not to be the police on how you do it or what you do. That's up to you. I mean, coming together to do a fundraiser, in my mind, is a Rotary gathering, however you choose to do that. Getting together on Zoom, having coffee together, talking about projects, getting together as clubs together and doing something in your community. All of that is what Rotary is about. What I heard, and I was going to talk about this, we've had focus groups that the zone has been running over the last 3 weeks. And they were with presidents, no presidents, or someone who's never been a president, governors, past governors, prospective governors, talking about what's going on in Rotary and what do we need to do. And what everybody, and this is the big West zone, is everybody in the Western United States. Get away from all of the legalistic, rule-based, top-down, this is how Rotary looks everywhere and one size fits all. Nobody in leadership, nobody in the focus groups wants to talk in those terms. Everybody wants to talk about empowering the clubs and even empowering individual people to be part of Rotary if they can't be part of a club. Why can't they be part of Rotary? The question is, if we are reimagining Rotary for the 21st century in this zone to take back to the board of directors, what should Rotary look like? And what I heard was there was nothing on the table. You guys need to write it down on what you think it needs to be looking like. And that's certainly the philosophy that we've had as a governor team for several years in this district. Chuck?
I just want to add to that because Janet from Longs Peak said the meeting requirements are defined in your club bylaws. I would encourage you to look at your bylaws and look at, do they need to be more flexible to encourage the clubs to do what they need to do? Because you can change your bylaws to meet your needs.
Right. And the bylaws should be responsive to the needs of your club. And that's why we're going to be going through the end of this Rotary year and the beginning of the new Rotary year. We're rolling out the new visioning strategic planning initiative that we've been working on at the district. And what I'm saying is we have revamped the program. We've worked with Mark Holt and Les Glover from Mountain Sage Consulting up in Estes Park. Dale Malady is our new district chair for visioning, and we're rolling out a whole new program that we've done a dry run with up at Casper 5 Trails. And we're looking for facilitators that can come out and work with the clubs. And we're encouraging every club in the district to go through that process, either by the end of this Rotary year or certainly at the very beginning of the next Rotary year, to ask some of those questions. And you'll be asking and answering those questions as a club. We as a district will be there to help guide you through the process, but not tell you what you should be doing. Because one of the things I can tell you, and anybody that's been a district governor will tell you about this district, we have 53 clubs in all across 4 states. Every one of you is different. Every community that you live in is different. And you need to have the flexibility to do it the way is best for you. And I'm not going to tell you that one way to do it is the be all and end all of ways to be Rotarians.
Ken Small, you had your hand up?
Yes, I just want to put in a footnote on the bylaws, and Steve can certainly back this one up. The clubs need to have bylaws, and they need to follow the bylaws. And if they want to change the bylaws for some reason, then change the bylaws. But put it on paper, follow the rules, and then change the rules if you want to.
Yep.
But otherwise, every decision you make, the club's hanging out in space if something goes wrong.
Right. And what the bylaws constitute is a set of agreements that you have made as Rotarians. This is how we're going to conduct our business. And, you know, under most normal circumstances, business goes along and nobody pays attention to them. But I will tell you, when a problem comes up, first place you go is your bylaws. And if you ask anybody at the district for help, the first question is going to be, what do your bylaws say? What have you all agreed among yourselves as to how you will work together, communicate together? What values do you hold as a club? That's why the bylaws is important. And I absolutely support what PDG Small is saying. If you haven't looked at your bylaws for a while, this is a great opportunity for you to look at it, especially coming out of this pandemic, because it's almost like we get to rewrite things for now that we may have been stuck in the past, but we've had a break. And so now we can, and I'm not saying that every bylaw needs to change. What you need to do is examine them and keep what's good and change what you want to change. And I'm not going to say it's bad. I'm going to say maybe it needs to be different to best empower your club members to be what they want to be and for your club to be what it wants to be. And only you can define that. You all will define what success looks like for each of your clubs. And what we want at the district is for you to feel good about what you've done and feel successful. And you come out of a Rotary year and go, gosh, we did a lot of good stuff that year. And we feel great about it. That's success for us at the district level. And how have we been able to help you with that? I just wanted to touch base with you on a couple of other things. As I understand it, RILA will not be meeting in person this summer in Estes Park. They are looking for ways with senior RILA. They're discussing the ability to try to have something virtual for the kids. I haven't talked to Karen Tressler beyond that to know where they are in that planning. And the last that she told me that they were not planning on doing anything for young RILA at that level. So I know they're encouraging communities to try to do something for young RILA, but again, it's still within those restrictions around appropriate distancing, being safe with the kids, and having something that'll work. The suggestion that came through was to work with your local school districts and whatever rules they're following as far as kids coming back into learning. Again, that's still in line with work with your local health departments, work with your state health departments, and follow the rules for your community, so that you as Rotarians are right in there with what's best for your community. We did also have Beth Vandewey from Cowboy Country Youth Exchange meet with us as a governor line the last couple of weeks, and she was at the executive committee meeting. They are planning to do a youth exchange next September. Right now, it sounds like they may have 5 students that may be able to go out. They hope to then bring 5 students in, but there's still an awful lot of work that has to be done. They're working with the State Department. They're still having to get individual countries come online. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen, but they're committed to the program, and they're not letting it just go away. It's just they're trying to function again within what's best for everybody. So keep watching the newsletter and information about what may be coming for Youth Exchange. But that's one of the most important things that we've done as a district is our Youth Exchange kids. And it's really a loss that we haven't been able to have them. It's a loss for the kids, it's also a loss for our clubs and for our Rotarians that have been able to host those kids. So, but they are working on it as best they can. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes that you may not see or hear about. I think you all probably saw the information in the newsletter. If not, you should look at it. We've had a recipient of the Service Above Self Award from Rotary International, past District Governor Stuart Palmer from up in Jackson. That is the highest award that Rotary awards to a Rotarian. It's for exemplary service to Rotary and to the world. And Stuart absolutely fits the bill. They have to be nominated by the district governor of their district. And there's no more than 150 that are named in any one Rotary year. And so that really is, it's a huge honor for past District Governor Stuart and a huge honor for his club, the Jackson Hole Rotary Club, and also an enormous honor for District 5440. And I talked to Jarita Solari, who's our director. She sits on the selection committee because that award is awarded by the Rotary International Board of Directors. And she said that they had a really strong group of candidates this year, but that Stuart was a shining light among them. And so I just am so pleased for him, pleased for that recognition for the work that he's done over many, many years for Rotary, both in his own community and all over the world. And it's just a great thing for 5440. And PDG Small, do we have a final date yet on when that award can be presented to him?
No, Chris, thanks for asking, because that's why I raised my hand. We've asked President Holger to present to Stuart. There is a personal connection between the two of them, so I'm optimistic he'll do it. We've requested it to be for our Rotary meeting, which I think is March 23. We have not heard back yet from Holger's executive assistant. And Chris, I may need your help and Jarita's help to see if we can break this loose so people can schedule their meetings.
That'd be
If
great.
we do it, we'll probably come to you, Chris, or Kelly, and open this thing up to the district. So
I think that would be lovely, that as many people as would like to participate with that, because this is really an award. You know, Stuart's just a fantastic Rotarian, but this is such an honor for our district. You can only have one in your district per year, and there's not more than 150. And I don't know how many were awarded this year. They don't always award the full cadre, but it really is based on exemplary service and character, and that's exactly what Stuart is. So there's a really nice piece about this in the district newsletter for February. So I would encourage you to go and look at that, and a great picture of Stuart there. So just kudos to him. And thank you, PDG Ken, for leading the charge on this and for getting this so that we could get Stuart honored with this. That's just wonderful. Appreciate that.
thank you.
I wanted to let you all know, as leadership, the executive committee met last week, and we did approve a draft budget to send to the presidents at PETS, and that will be handled at, I believe, one of the post-PETS meetings that Cherie will be holding. A budget does have to be approved by the president-elects coming in. The total amount of the budget is down from what it has been, and really the reason for that is that our membership continues to drop. So the revenue for the district is down. Now, there will be some conversation at the end of the Rotary year when we see where everything settles in terms of the money. One of the ideas that we're floating, and Finance Chair Chuck Rutenberg is encouraging us to look at, is if we have a significant overage in the budget or savings, that we will return some of those monies to each of the clubs. We don't have the mechanism in place, but we have an idea of how that might work. All of it would, of course, be based on your membership at a specific date, and we would do it on a per capita basis. So we are committed to looking at that, and if we have significant savings, to returning those dollars to the clubs and give them some relief on dues. Chuck, did you want to throw anything else in about that?
Yeah, we are anticipating that there's going to be quite a bit of money there because of the lack of travel within the district this year, and other things that we normally do that we didn't spend money on. We're going to base that on the number of people, number of members as of July 1st, 2020. So it'll be the same number of people that we collected dues on that'll go back to your club, regardless of how many people are in your club at that time. And that'll probably happen in July or August.
So be watching for
Tim.
that.
When you say quite a bit of money, what does that mean per person? Like $1, or is it more like 80 or something like that?
I, off the time, I'm afraid to even justify, but it's more than $1.
I was just wondering, kind of roughly, I mean, because that money can go back obviously into our general fund, or if it's actually significant, like $30 a person or $40 a person, then we might do a refund to the
We'll
member.
have to look, we'll have to look and see what we think the overage is and what we think upcoming expenses are. One of the things that the district, of course, is experiencing is our revenue is driven directly by the number of members in the district. And that has, of course, been a downward trend. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the cost of providing things has gone down. So it's kind of that balancing, but I believe that it's going to be material, Tim, to each of the clubs. Don't you, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here.
Again, no pressure. And I was just more
Yeah,
curious.
he's going to make up the difference out of all of his own vast wealth. So don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Right on, right on. Well, I mean, I was going to say, if it's not significant, I mean, can't the district keep it and roll it and use it next year? I mean, that was the other piece.
Well, here's the thing. We talked about actually lowering the dues, Tim, but we really want to, if we do that, then we run into the position a year later, we have to raise the dues. I'd rather give a check back and show in good faith that we're returning the money we collected that we didn't use. And I'm going to tell you, it could be in the range of maybe $15 per person.
Cool. I understand. I appreciate the thought, and I know you guys have thought it out, and I was just wondering, roughly what that meant. So, but thank you for that. And I appreciate the fiscal sort of responsibility that you're taking. And if you didn't spend the money, then you're giving it back. I think that's actually a really Rotarian way. So nice job, you guys.
Yep. Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, PDG Small. You need to unmute, Ken. Ken, you're little, there you go.
No wonder nobody listens to me. The second thought would be to take at least a portion of what you think you may return and put it in the district's foundation and use that money to match future grants, since the TRF is starting to neck down on their direct matches of club donations to projects in the TRF. Build a pool of money that you could use to support like the wells and the Indian reservations or some other good program. The clubs have already had to ante up and give the money to the district. And so it's kind of a down the drain as far as they're concerned, a sunk cost. You might get more leverage by using it to match grants and other contributions. Just to mess up the discussion.
Yeah, well, Ken, it's a good idea. However, what we're doing then is taking operating funds and moving them to a charitable donation when people didn't actually give them to us for charity, which is one thing I don't like. The other thing is I don't want to get into the business of adding a match to district grants or global grants to come out. It's already tough to manage that, and that would be a very short time period to do that. But we'll discuss it with the finance committee.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Just for the record, that the overages that have accumulated in Jackson, we're using to grants for various things here in town. We're not tanking all that money. So there are people who will accept that approach.
Sure. Any other questions about the budget? That will be will be going out to the presidents a month before the meeting, Kelly?
Yes, I was just waiting on a final number on one line item, and if it's in my inbox today, I will get that ready to go out and send it out today to the president. It'll go to the president-elects because they are the voting body on the president, on the budget. And Lisa did make a comment in the group chat there that if the funds are returned back to the club can decide to donate it back if they choose, or however they would like to use those return funds.
Exactly, that's a club decision.
One other thing you all should be aware of, the chair of the audit committee, past district governor Dave Bostrom from up in Worland, came to the executive committee and asked that we go and actually hire an outside auditor to audit the district's financials over the last couple of years. And there's several reasons why that's a good idea. And so we are in the process of looking for a qualified auditor to do an audit of the district's books. And then when that audit is completed, we will make that information available to the clubs. But we're kind of at a point, because of the weirdness of the pandemic, the fact that I've been district governor for a couple of years. We've had our books changed a bit with our current treasurer, so it makes it very difficult for the audit committee to go through their normal process. It's time for us to get an outside auditor to come in and do an independent view of the books and then report that back to the clubs. So we're in the process of trying to get that auditor hired and then get them going on it. And then when their report is done and the executive committee has had a chance to digest it and the finance committee, then we will make that available to the clubs. Chuck, is there anything from your perspective as the finance chair you wanted to add to that?
No, but before we go, I do want to talk about the changes in funding to the foundation. So
yeah, I wanted to give you that opportunity, especially with the incentive for the Paul Harris Society. Also, go ahead.
You want me to do that now? Okay. How many
Yeah.
people got the letter on the changes in funding for grants and read it? Okay. Reddit is important. I want to go through that and talk a little bit about the reasoning for that. As you know, there were 4 things that they outlined in the letter. A couple of them don't really affect you much at the club level. The first one is that I don't know how many of you know that at the end of every year, all the districts get asked to transfer some of their DDF that they didn't use to Polio Plus. We have typically done that as a district, as with some of our DDF that was remaining, and that was matched dollar for dollar because they tried to get to that $50 million a year for the match with the Gates Foundation. That really doesn't affect you, except I think you're going to get more communication and more pressure to give to the Polio Foundation so they get to the $50 million match. The second one is really the big one that affects people who do global grants. And that's that beginning next year, instead of matching dollar for dollar out of DDF and the World Fund, it's going to match 80 cents on the dollar. So you're going to get less of a match than we've typically gotten in the past. Why that's important now is what they said is they're going to continue to match 100% or dollar for dollar for those submitted at the end of May and approved by June, as long as the money holds out. One of the things I was surprised at in meeting with RI and the zone foundation chairs is for the last 3 or 4 years, the World Fund has been depleted before the end of the year. I wasn't aware of that, but I did notice there was always a slowdown in June on approval of grants. And it turns out that's because they didn't have any money to approve. Our group is, our grant committee is reaching out for people that have grants that have been submitted and grants that are in draft to understand where they are and talk to them. Because if they haven't been submitted by the end of May, they're going to have to rewrite them with the 80% match instead of 100% match. And if they don't get approved by the end of June, they'll also have to pull them back and rewrite them based on the funding, the new funding model. I can tell you that they're anticipating running out of money by the end of May. And so if that happens in June, you won't get any approved, even if they're submitted. So there's going to be a push from the committee to work with your people that have them in the system to make sure that we can help you get them through, if at all possible, before that time. But you should be aware, as you're planning grants for next year, that you're only going to get an 80% match instead of a 100% match from the World Fund. The second thing was the third thing was the 5% annual fee. And one of the things I hadn't thought about, but Steve Center brought it up the other day, is going back to, it used to be, for those of us who've been around a long time, that they used to 100% of your money that went into the annual fund, what was invested in the returns from those investments paid for the annual, or for the foundation, running the foundation. And so all the money you put in came back to the, to grants 3 years later. That changed in 2008. When in late 2008, we had, if you remember, the crash in the market. And at that point, when we went into 2009, we weren't getting the returns on the money and to cover all the operation costs of the foundation. And so they had a choice. They could either reduce their personnel and their costs, which would have slowed down getting money into grants, or they could allocate 5% of the money that came in to running the foundation. So they decided to do that in 2009. And the way they did it was they took the money from that was going to be allocated and split it in half. Half went to DDF, and the other half, which was going to go to the World Fund, they reduced that by the 5% of the total amount that went to operating. What they're going to do now is they're going to take the 5% off the total amount before they split it. So instead of getting 50% back for DDF, we're going to get 47.5%. It's not a major change, but there's going to be slightly less money for us for grants to about 2.5% starting next year. The importance of that, I think, is we really need to beef up what we're giving to the annual fund worldwide, because that's where the funding comes for the World Fund, is coming from our annual fund donations. And we've been relatively steady. It's gone down a little bit this year, but we really need to push on getting money into the annual fund. And so one of the things that we did, I went to the finance committee and the executive committee, and I asked them for $25,000 from reserve to encourage people to sign up to be Paul Harris Society members. And so what we've said is, for anybody, the next 100 people that sign up, we're going to take $250 cash and put it in the annual fund in their name, so they'll get Paul Harris credit. But they have to designate the money to the annual fund and do it through Rotary Direct, so that we know the money's going to come in. We think that's a good use of the reserve. One of the things that you need to understand about our district reserve is our bylaws say we need to keep 50,000 in reserve. As of a couple of years ago, we had 140,000. We changed the people that were managing that, and that has now grown to 190,000. So we think taking 25,000 off the top to encourage giving to the annual fund was a good idea. And I think that letter went out from Kelly last week to all the Rotarians about encouraging the Paul Harris Society. So the fourth thing was, which doesn't affect us at all, really. They've said that people that have unused DDF that roll it over every year, there's a 5-year limit on how long that they'll allow that to roll over. And then they're going to give you the option to move it into Polio Plus or an endowment or disaster response or the World Fund. Our district doesn't have DDF left at the end of the year. When I was talking to some of the foundation chairs, I was a little bit shocked that some of the districts pride themselves on growing how much they roll over year to year instead of actually using it on grants. So those people are going to get caught in a bind where they're going to have to give that money up after beginning in July 2026. Doesn't affect our district at all. So those are the major changes in the reasoning. Oh, one of the reasons that they depleted every year is when they started using World Funds to match grants. From that time until this last year, the number of grants and the amount of money that's come out of the World Fund has doubled. At the same time, the annual fund has only increased by 6%, and that's where all the funding's coming from. So we just don't have the money to give out in grants that we used to have if we keep growing the amount of grants that we do. So I'm open to answer any questions or concerns anybody has on that topic.
You said the grants have gone out over what period, have doubled?
I believe they started that in sometime in the 90s, but I'm not 100% sure, Tim. It might be in this letter here. I don't think
Okay, I'll read the letter. No worries. Thanks.
No, it's not in the letter. the time frame, but it's been, you know, what, as long as they've been matching from the World Fund, and I think they've been doing that as far as I can tell, as long as I've been around. So it's been at least 20 years. But, you know, they're giving out now, I know that number is in there. Maybe it's not in there. No, it's not. They're giving out like $97 million a year from the World Fund now to grants in matching.
One of the things I also, you know, when Chuck was talking about the incentivizing the Paul Harris Society gift, that's coming out of our reserve account, which is separate. When we're talking about the budget, that's our operating accounts. The reserve is a separate investment account. The reason we have that big increase, it's not that we've been putting money into it, it's that it's market appreciation. And so what we're doing is plowing that market appreciation from the investments back into incentivizing Rotarians giving to the annual fund. So
Yeah,
that's where that money is coming from. It's not that we're taking a block of money from your dues and sticking it in reserve. That's market appreciation.
and I can tell you that that money, 3 years ago, I think it was, Barb Redder came to me and asked me to move it as the foundation chair or the finance committee chair, because it was in one mutual fund that nobody ever looked at, and it was going down every year. It was losing money every year. And so we moved it, and it's grown appreciably in over the last 3 years from 140 to 190,000.
Right. All right. Well, we've been together for about an hour. I'd like to give anybody, before we close, the opportunity to ask any questions that they have. I will be doing coffee with the district governor tomorrow morning at 9, and Kelly has sent out the link for that. Kelly, was there anything that you wanted to final add as the district secretary?
Not at this time, sir.
Great. Any final comments or questions from everybody? I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking your time with us this morning, and I hope you find these helpful. There's a lot of information. There's an awful lot that's going on in the Rotary world that you don't necessarily hear about. And so hopefully this has been beneficial. We'll do this again in a month on the 19th of March. And if there's no other questions, we'll sign off. Wish you all the best this weekend. Try to stay warm wherever you are, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate everybody being here. Mike Tormey, I'll give you a call. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
You bet. Thank you, Kelly.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lee.